Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. So Jeff Sessions was pushed out about a week ago, and hey, it's been a week and the Mueller investigation hasn't been shut down. That is amazing. But will it in the near future? Joining us now to break down what might happen, Andrew Coan, professor of law at the University of Arizona. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Very glad to have you here. So I read your article about sort of executive power and the influence of public opinion, reaction to the exertion of executive power. For those who haven't seen it, can you explain sort of your thesis as how it relates to Jeff Sessions' ouster?
So I've written a book about the history of special prosecutors, and I think the most important lesson that history teaches us in this area is that special prosecutors are incapable of saving us from ourselves. If the president wants to fire a special prosecutor, if he thinks he can do it without suffering significant fallout, he's got the power to do it. So ultimately, it's only the American people who can decide whether the president is above the law.
So you're talking there about, in these other examples, how important public reaction is. I mean, we're only, I guess, about a week into it, but so far from what you've seen, how would you rate the public's reaction to Jeff Sessions being forced out in the particular way that he was?
I think there's been a lot of pushback and some pushback across the political spectrum, although the response from the Republican side has been predictably more muted. I think it's a little bit tough to compare Sessions' ouster with some of the other historical examples because Sessions isn't the special prosecutor. And Trump may be proceeding in a tactically savvy way here. At least one possibility is that he's going to proceed step by step, and that's going to make it more difficult for the public to identify any one episode or any one event as the crucial one. So you've seen a lot of people declaring that the firing of Jeff Sessions or the forced resignation of Jeff Sessions was a red line. But I think it's a little bit hard for people to get excited when Robert Mueller still has a job and the new acting attorney general has not taken any obvious public steps to shut down or interfere with the investigation. So I think one of the major challenges for the public going forward is going to be to just keep a really close eye on events and to remain vigilant in the face of subsequent developments.
So in terms of that red line, one individual who had appeared to set a red line for the ousting of Jeff Sessions was Lindsey Graham, who said there would be holy hell to pay if he got fired. So in terms of, he's obviously backtracked, he doesn't seem to care, and they're pitching it as Jeff Sessions wouldn't work with the president deserves an AG that would work with him. So you have the public reaction, and then you have the potential response from the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans seem to not care. Now that the Democrats have taken control of the House, how significant do you think that will be with the future of the Mueller investigation?
Well, I think the midterm elections have the potential to be very significant. At this point, the Mueller investigation has reached a very advanced stage. I think the reason it has reached such an advanced stage is that Trump has been afraid of the political backlash, at least up until the midterms, that he would have triggered by firing or significantly interfering with Mueller's investigation. Now that Mueller has gathered presumably quite a lot of evidence, if the president were to move against him at this point, the Democrats, now that they're in control of the House, have a lot of tools to try to figure out exactly what kind of evidence Mueller gathered and to expose that evidence to public scrutiny.
So you've obviously studied a number of examples where the president would like to just shut this thing down. In some cases, they have done that. Do you believe that the route that Donald Trump will take to avoid that sort of public reaction you've been talking about is that he puts in someone like Whitaker, who's a loyalist and has been, I would say publicly dismissive of this investigation and the basis for it from the beginning. Do you think that it's more likely that they will cut funding, deny requests, keep the final report hidden? Should we expect that sort of strategy?
Well, that's certainly one possibility. I think it's very difficult to make predictions about any investigation of this sort. There are so many variables at play. And of course, in this case, one of those variables is Trump's personality, which is, I think, famously unpredictable.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that you mentioned that we're in this advanced stage in the Mueller report, and I've read at least one report from seemingly inside saying that they're typing up their findings, but we also find out or hear rumors day by day of more indictments potentially coming out. That Corsi, it came out yesterday, is expecting to be indicted. There are reports saying that Don Jr. thinks that he will be indicted as well. Do we think that if those were to happen, does that signal that we might not be as far along in this process as we think that we are?
I think it's very difficult to answer that question because Robert Mueller has played his cards so close to the vest. In contrast to many previous investigations, most notably Ken Starr's special counsel investigation of Bill Clinton, there have been virtually no leaks from inside the Mueller investigation, from Mueller's own team. We've learned a fair number of things over the course of the past year and change, but mostly from people who have had occasion to interact with Mueller or his fellow special prosecutors. And I think that makes it very difficult to venture a guess as to how far along he might be in his investigation. I do think it's quite unsurprising that we've heard nothing from him in the past 2 months or so. That is a reflection of his respect for the norm that federal prosecutors should not take significant action that could affect a political campaign in the months preceding an election. But he may well have been working hard during that time. I think there's every reason to believe that he and his team have been working hard in that time. And it wouldn't be terribly surprising to see some significant developments in the next few weeks now that the midterm elections are behind us.
Well, we wake up every day waiting to see if that will actually happen. Andrew Coan, professor of law at the University of Arizona, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.